feel like I'm the only one in the world who actually wears black lipstick. It's okay. It's okay to be different, huh? So I don't mind. I am very excited to do this book review because let's just say this book was pretty epic. I'm just putting it out there right now. Man, I have never, ever read a book with a more insane plot twist ever. It's so good. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to talk about it. So let's just get into it. First, I'll go ahead and tell the description. I'm just going to read it on the flat because I'm afraid that this description is so complex that I'm just going to be like jumbling my words. So let's just go ahead and read it. It says, Mare Barrow's world is divided by blood, those with red and those with silver. Mare and her family are lowly reds, destined to serve the silver elite whose supernatural abilities make them nearly gods. Mare steals what she can to help her family survive, but when her best friend is conscripted into the army, she gambles everything to win his freedom. A twist of fate leads her to the royal palace itself, where in front of the king and all his nobles, she discovers a power of her own, an ability she didn't know she had, except her blood is red. To hide this impossibility, the king forces her into the role of a lost silver princess and betrothed to one of his own sons. As Mare is drawn further into the silver world, she risks her new position to aid the Scarlet Guard, the leaders of a red rebellion. Her actions put into motion a deadly and violent dance, pitting prince against prince, and Mare against her own heart. So, genre-wise, I put this in, obviously, YA, but it's also kind of fantasy, a little bit of dystopia, but mostly fantasy. And let's just get right into my thoughts, because I cannot wait to talk about this book. First of all, I really just don't have any bad things to say about it. All I thought about this were good things. I loved Mare, the main character, and specifically, I felt like she was quite unique in some ways. In other ways, she is still kind of your typical YA main character, but I still found her interesting. I found her situation interesting, where she is this person with red blood, and the Reds aren't supposed to have powers, but she does. And I also liked her power. Her power was to create electricity, which is really different because the Silvers in this book can't create their powers. Like, if they control fire, they have to make fire from something else, and if they control water, they have to get water from something else, like a fountain or something, to control it. It has to be nearby them. But in Mare's situation, she can create electricity, which is so not even heard of. So I found that really unique about her, and I like that fact that she was just different from everyone else. She was very different because she's a red person with red blood with powers. So I just really enjoyed her story overall, and I enjoyed her character. She is kind of on borderline sassy and just sweet sassy. She's very cool. I really just have to kind of commend her because she goes through so much conflict and just crazy situations in this book. She's thrown into the world of the Silverbloods, which is so different from her own, and she's someone who just has never liked the Silvers because they're so much richer and just have so many more opportunities, and they're so powerful, and where she comes from is just the rock bottom. So you can kind of understand why she just doesn't like the Silvers. So for her to have to put up with them in this way is just commendable to me. And I also enjoy the other characters too. I love the two princes, hearing their backstory and how they live in this world of the Silvers, and how they actually have the same power. They can control fire. And as for the romance goes in this book, I really enjoyed the romance. There was obviously a love triangle, which is kind of typical in YA, unfortunately, but the love triangle I didn't mind too much because it did keep me kind of interested in what Mare was going to, who she was actually going to end up with. And in fact, the romance in this book went really downhill and kind of did a whole 180 because of the plot twist, which I'm not going to say because spoilers. But in all, I did enjoy the romance and didn't really mind the love triangle, personally. And so in all, I would give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. I would so recommend it to anyone, especially people who love fantasy, since this is a fantasy book. It was just so good, and I hope I move you to pick it up because it's so good. And now I'm going to go into spoilers. So for all of you who have not read this book, please leave right now, because I assure you, you do not want to be spoiled for this book at all. It'll honestly ruin everything. So goodbye, non-spoiler people. And stay tuned, people who have not read the book, for some very, very awesome discussion that I'm very excited to get into. Okay, first thing I want to get into is the obvious thing, the plot twist. What the heck? I can't even fathom the betrayal that happened in this book. It is literally one of the most insane plot twists I've ever read, because it's something I didn't even expect. Like, I did not expect for Maven to actually be the bad guy. I thought more like Cal was, but it was actually Maven, and I can't believe it, because I started to really fall for Maven's character, and I was starting to ship him and Mare together, but he was actually the bad guy, and he was faking it the whole time. Like, it irks me so much, because I really liked him. I'm like, how can Victoria Aveyard, how can you do that? How can you do that to a character I actually liked, but he was just a fraud the whole time? Like, I can't believe it. And the scene where they were in that room, the King, Queen, Cal, Maven, and Mare, and Maven and Mare were being held hostage, kind of, in a way. They were being chained up. And then the Queen decides to unchain Maven, and then Mare is like, what are you doing? Can you get her to unchain me too? And then Maven does this, he acts so creepy, and he's just like, I don't think so. I'm like, what? What? I was literally, what? I was literally sitting right there reading it, like, on my bed, and I was like speechless. Like, I had to read those paragraphs over and over again to be like, he did not just do that. Are you kidding me? My mind was blown so much. I cannot believe Maven would do that. I can't even believe he would betray her. And he had this whole just personality of this sweet prince who was living in his brother's shadow, but he was like, I can't even. He was faking it the whole time. Like, it's just insane. And you can also obviously tell that I was very worked up about this, because I'm getting so worked up right now. But he is honestly one of the most, if not the most, sinister, evil character I ever know now, because he was just totally made Mare a fool. And the even worse part about it is because he willingly killed his father, the king. Like, he just didn't care. All he cared about was the power, and he just decapitated his father. That is the most, I feel like that is more evil than betraying Mare, because, like, he was just so ruthless about it. I mean, I hate him so much, and it was weird, because I felt like I really loved him in the book, but then this happens, and I feel like backstabbed. Like, okay, Mare was betrayed, but I feel betrayed. As a reader, I feel betrayed by this character, because he just let me down. He had me just fooled, and I can't even believe it. Cannot believe it. I can do a whole, like further discussion on this, but I'll stop there, because it's just going to be me going, like, I can't even handle it. So let's just go on. The other part that I felt like was a twist too, and I wasn't expecting it, and some other people said they were expecting it, but it is when Shade, Mary's brother, was actually still alive. He met them on the train at the very end of the book, and I was like, that made me so happy, because even though we didn't know a lot about Shade in, like, the beginning, because he didn't come up, I still was very interested in him, because it seemed like him and Mare had this very just tight-knit relationship, and it seemed like he meant so much to Mare, and so I felt so bad for her when she found out her brother was dead, but he actually wasn't. And I found what was also very interesting is he's also a red who has a power, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe his power was to teleport, right? I can't remember. I might have missed something, but it feels like that's what I read. His power is to teleport, which is pretty cool power indeed. And I just can't wait to read more about him in the sequel, which I've already started, which is Glass Sword. I've already started it because I'm just so eager to see what happens. I mean, honestly, I have to say this is one of my like top 5 favorite YA series now. And I am just so excited to get more invested into it, to read the other books. And I'm very also excited because I heard there will be 4 books in this series, which is amazing. And I'm just looking forward to finishing the sequel sometime soon because, oh my gosh, the series is so good. So anyway, that's all I really have to say. I feel like I'm just on a high right now because I love this book so much, like a lot. So